Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Michael.
Sorry. But anyway, hey, what we want to do, we want to get into commercial. We are actually starting our 103 series. So I want to know from in here who has sold a commercial property before. Commercial means multifamily or a retail. I know this gentleman has sold several and what have you. So what we're going to do, we're going to go over what commercial is all about and how to actually price commercial and where we are. So we're going to learn how to calculate capitalization rates, debt ratios. We have some analysis software we're going to get into and post into the website. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Gross scheduled rental income. What that is the total amount of rents that come in on a property. Okay, so therefore, if you have a 5-unit building and each unit is $1,000, then what is the monthly gross income? 5-unit building, $1,000, how much is it? $5,000 a month, that's right. If you multiply that by 12, what do you have? $60,000. That's called the gross rental income, okay? Now, if you're gonna get a loan from a bank, what the bank is going to do, it's going to take 5% of the vacancy factor. If you have a vacancy or not, they're not concerned about that. So what they're going to do is they're going to take a 5% vacancy factor off of that $60,000, which means that they automatically going to take $3,000 off of the GSI. Are you following me? Okay. So what that leaves is the net rental income, the NRI. Okay? Welcome, Billy. So what we're going to do from there is that we're going to have other income. So what forms of other income on income property? Shout it out for me. Laundry. What else? Garages.
Billboards.
Parking.
Billboards.
Cell towers.
Billboards.
What?
Billboards to rent.
That's right, billboards. All of that is extra income that can come in if you have a rental property. But that's not part of your rental income. It's called other income, so you have to add the other income to this number here, and now you have what they call the total operating income, okay? So the next thing we have to do is get our expenses. What are the expenses of a property? Well, we have an acronym called TUMMI. T-U-M-M-I, and I want you guys to write this down. TUMMI stands for taxes, utilities, maintenance, management, and insurance. Let's give Valentina a hand here because the guy knows this stuff. Absolutely. Those are actual expenses against the property. So an expense is something that you can write a check for. Can you write a check for the 5% vacancy factor?
No.
No, you cannot. So whenever you have an actual expense that you're writing a check for, that is called TUMMI, and that generates your net operating income. Okay, a quick review. So why is the net operating income so important? Why is the net operating income so important? Anybody?
Yeah. That will tell you if you're doing a good business, you know, when you purchase a commercial.
Okay. It'll give you a certain factor, right?
Yeah.
Gonzalez?
You will need that number in order to come up with the cap rate.
That's right. You've got to have, if you don't know this number right here, there's a few things you cannot do. You cannot come up with the cap rate, and you cannot come up with the price. Okay? If you don't have this number, you're lost. So this is the first number that you got to have. Okay? Let's move on. Any questions so far? All right, you guys are doing great. So what we want to determine now is how do we determine cash on cash, cash on cash return. So when we have investors, the investor's going to want to know a few things. Remember, he or she's going to want to know, what is my cash flow and what is my cash on cash return? Right? In other words, I'm getting 0.5% in the bank, right? I got to be able to do better than that. So therefore, I want to know what is my cash on cash return. So one way you figure it out is you got to know your net operating income. Okay? You got to know your net operating income. Then you have to know your debt service. Now, in the investor world, the mortgage payment is called debt service. That's number one. So when you're talking to an investor, you say, you know, Mr. Investor, your debt service is going to be X. He or she should know that we're talking about the mortgage. If not, you're dealing with an inexperienced investor. Okay? So let's take some numbers. I'm just going to pull some numbers out of my head that I know is going to work. Let's say that I have, let's say that my NOI is 50,000, right? And let's say that my mortgage payments or debt service is 40,000, right? So what do I have left? I got 10,000. Is it negative or positive? Positive. Let's flip the numbers. Let's say that my mortgage is 50,000 and my NOI is 40,000. What do I have?
Negative.
Negative. Okay. Is it possible for me to ever have a negative right here and have a positive cash on cash return? Never. It's never possible. You're never going to have a negative here and a positive here. Okay? So let's take this number right here. So let's say that we had $50,000 NOI, $40,000 mortgage. I got a $10,000 positive cash flow. The way that I determine cash on cash return is how? By dividing the cash flow by the down payment. Okay. So let's say I'm going to put down $100,000 on this property, and I have a $10,000 cash flow. What is my percentage? Anybody here have a calculator?
How much you putting down?
10%.
I'm putting down 100,000, and my cash flow is 10 grand.
A year? 10%?
Yeah, it's 10,000 annually,
10%?
and I'm putting, that sounds about right to me. Anybody want to double check Valentine's work? Okay, I got $10,000 cash flow, and I'm putting down $100,000 on the building.
I'll buy that property.
What is the return?
10%.
10%. If you ever, in this life, find a cash on cash with 10%, I suggest you buy it. I suggest you buy it,
I
because
suggest you contact Michael Johnson.
that's right, I'm buying. If you contact me, it's gone. This gentleman is gonna be gone too, okay? So that's what we wanna do, okay? So now we've learned several things. We learned how to get the NOI, we learned what mortgage is, what a debt service is, and we also learned how to determine cash on cash return. That's important, because when you're talking to investors, this is the information they're gonna wanna know. This is the information they're gonna wanna know. All right, let's move on. In our previous classes, I'm just doing a little review before I go forward. In the previous classes, we talked about how to speak to investors. Investors have their own kind of language, okay? They're not residential people. As a matter of fact, they're a lot smarter because they probably own income property already, and there's a language that they speak. And we want to speak that same language with them, okay? So one of our questions we asked our investors, do you want to invest horizontally or vertically? Horizontally or vertically? What does that mean? Mr. Gonzalez?
Horizontally is different areas spread out.
Very good.
Vertically is one specific area.
That's right. See, investors like either one or two things. Either they're going to be spread out, and spread out doesn't only mean in a certain city, it could be in across the nation. I have properties in Houston, in Arizona, and Vegas, wherever the deal is good. Some investors like to stay centralized. I just like Long Beach. That's the only thing I want. I have 4 or 5 buildings in Long Beach, and that's where they are. That means that he's investing vertically, horizontally, means that I'm spread out. Okay. Do you have a split requirement that you're looking for? Does anybody here know what a split requirement is? Or what a split requirement looks like? Valentine?
It's the amount of bedrooms and bathrooms in
That's right.
the building.
That's right. Now, if you have units, some investors like units that are maybe all 1 bedrooms. Some investors like units that are, I want a little bit of one, I want some twos, and I want some threes, okay? So when you ask your investor, listen, what is your split requirement you're looking for, you're piquing that investor's interest, okay? Because we all know 2 bedrooms is pretty much middle of the line, 3, 4 bedrooms are for larger families, and 1 bedrooms are for people that's kind of moving in first time, okay? So you want to know what's in that investor's mind. Are you looking for a value play or something more vanilla? Mr. Gonzalez, can you help me with that?
Value play is pretty much a property that you could add value to, like fixer-upper, the renter low. And vanilla is a building that is already very good condition, rents are good, but, you know, price usually at the top or near the top.
Absolutely, that's excellent. When you ask a investor this question, basically what you're asking the investor is, what kind of investor are you? Now, there's 3 types of investors. There's a cash flow investor, right? The guy that's looking for cash flow. He doesn't care where the building is, he'll collect his rents, he got his gun on his side, he doesn't care. He'll go into those areas. Then you got the appreciation guy. He's gonna buy the property and he's gonna wait for it to appreciate. And then you have the middle of the road guy. Now, the appreciation guy, he probably wants to buy in a great area. He doesn't want a lot of problems collecting his rent. He has money to pay for properties in good areas, and he's good to go, okay? So he's just waiting for the property to go up in value because he knows it's gonna go up, okay? And then you got the third kind of investor that's kind of like in the middle of the road. Well, I can take a little cash flow, but I want appreciation too. So you wanna know what kind of investor that guy is, because you're gonna want to know where to put him. Okay? Here's another good question. Are you looking for properties that's only on the market? Or are you looking for a good deal? Now, what kind of question is this really? Debbie, what kind of question is that? Are you looking for a good deal, or are you just looking for properties on the market?
Like a good deal would be a pocket listing.
A good deal would be a pocket listing? Well, why would we ask a guy that question?
Because we want to let them know that we have access to pocket listings and we want to spark their interest.
That's right. We want to spark their interest. We want to get their attention. Because of course he's going to say, well, you know, of course I'm looking for a good deal. Okay, sir, well, what is a good deal? Or madam, what is a good deal? This really starts to get inside the investor's head. Because he may say, well, I'm looking for a deal that is 23% cash on cash return. Is he real? Not really. Not really. So with this question, this is a good one to start the conversation to set up the appointment. Very good. You guys are good. This is my little cap rate calculator that I like to show you guys because you can find out what you're looking for with this calculator. The only thing you have to do is cover what you're looking for and then you will find it. For example, if I'm looking for a cap rate, then the only thing I need to know is the NOI and the price. If I divide the price into the NOI, then I'll find my cap rate. You see how that works? Whatever you cover up, then you can find. For example, if I'm looking for the price, if I know the NOI, if I know the cap rate, if I divide the cap rate into the NOI, I'll find my price. It's a really cool little tool for you to use. We went over that in the other. Okay, now let's kind of move forward from here. I think you guys got the basics down. So we're going to figure out what a debt coverage ratio is. So let's go back over cash flow real quick. We know that if we deduct the mortgage from the NOI, we're going to get cash flow. Okay. But we need to find out something called debt coverage ratio. The reason that we need to know what that is because when we're getting a loan from the bank is only going to loan you money if this number is correct. So we're going to find out what this number is. All right. So let's go to to the dictionary, and we're going to figure out a little bit what debt service coverage ratio is. In corporate finance, a debt service coverage ratio is a measure of the cash flow available to pay current debt obligations. The ratio states net operating income as a multiple of debt obligations due within 1 year, yada, yada, yada. Okay. And I'll read a little bit about this, and I'll explain what all this mumbo jumbo means. The DCRA, if less than 1, means negative cash flow. the the DSCR of 95 means there's only enough net operating income to cover 95%. Let's make a long story short. What happens when a bank looks at an income property, they look at the property more than your credit. They don't really care that much about your credit. What they care about is, can the property debt coverage itself? Can the income coming in from the property take care of the debt of that property? That's what the bank is really looking for. As a matter of fact, the bank is looking for a 1.25% higher. Okay, that's what they're looking for. So let's take some numbers here that will make sense here. Let's go back and let's see what we're talking about. Okay, so what we want is we want the NOI to be, so what we want is that the NOI is determined by the net operating, by the mortgage. Okay. Which looks like the same thing. All right, so so here we go. We're gonna take the NOI, we're gonna take the mortgage, and we're gonna divide the mortgage into the NOI. If the mortgage goes into the NOI, and if it's a solid number, then that means that the DCR is good. So so Martine, if you can help me out, let's take some fictitious numbers.
Okay, so let's use NOI, let's use the same one that you did earlier for the cash on cash.
Okay, which was
So
$50,000.
$50,000.
Okay, and we're gonna use the mortgage for $40,000, right?
$40,000.
So divide 40 into 50,
40 into 50.
divide 40,000 into 50,000.
0.8. Let's see what the-
No, it's the other way. What did you come up with, David?
Just 1.4, Denise.
Denise, I'm sorry. 1.4, right?
Yeah, well.
She's
the
correct.
other one else.
1.25.
I actually got 1.25.
1.25,
Oh,
okay.
yeah, I did bad.
All right, okay.
Goes in twice.
So, did you see how that worked?
1.25.
What we did is that the NOI was at 50,000 and our debt service was at 40,000. So we divided 40,000 into 50,000. And we came out with a number of 1.25%. That's called the DCR. If the bank does not see that DCR being 1.25% or 1.25 or more, the bank would not loan money to you. Okay? So, the question is, okay, well, if it doesn't come out to that, then how do we make it come out to that?
Lower your down
With
payment,
more down payment.
Larger down payment, what's another way to do it?
lower interest rate.
Lower interest rate, what's another way to do it?
Raise the rent.
Raise the rent, very good, what's another way to do it?
Put some laundry machines in.
Put some laundry machine. Or we do some cannabis or something. Do something. But what about lowering the price? Lowering the price, lowering the price of work as well, okay?
Lower interest.
So basically, we've learned a lot because these two are very important. The cash flow of the property and the debt coverage ratio is very important. Because that's what the bank is going to be looking for in order to give you a loan, okay? So let's go into a little bit about some analysis software. Because after we got in the listing, what we want to do is we want to be able to market the property. In order to market the property, we're going to have some software that's going to help us to do this, okay? This is a particular software that the company offers our people. It's called RealNet, and it's a really powerful software because what it does, it doesn't only analyze the property, it gives us the opportunity to play with the numbers to see where we're going with this. Now, this is going to be very interesting to us who've been here for a while because we're going to start seeing how this whole thing comes together, okay? When we first start putting our property on our analysis software, there's a few things that we want to know. We're going to know what we think the purchase price is going to be. We have to have all the property information. For this particular property, it was 4,000 square foot in rentable space, and it was 5,600 in actual lot size. So let's go into the financials. of the property. Let's see how that looks. The financials are, number one, remember the down payment, right? Now, when you start talking about 5 units and up, the average, the smallest amount of down payment I've ever seen is about 25%. It can go as high as about 35, right? 30?
50.
Yeah, it all depends. And in order to make your DCR work, then that means you may take a higher down payment. But let's just do a 25%, which means that the down payment is 182,000. Your debt service, mortgage payments is going to be 547 at an interest rate of about 5%, which gives you a monthly payment of about 29.39. So the software does that for you automatically. Now, this is where you put all of your information in for your units. This was a 4-unit property. All of them, there were 2 bedrooms. They all were about 1,000 square feet, but they were different numbers, okay? I put a 3% yearly increase in there, and my vacancy factor, in this case, I put about 5%. You can't say it, but it was 5%, okay? Then what you do is that you put your expenses in. What are your expenses again? Tell me.
Taxes, utilities, maintenance,
Management, insurance. All of that goes into there, okay? So what we want to do is, like, after all of that is in there, you want to generate a report for your investor that kind of shows what they're looking at. And what they really want to see is something called a pro forma report. Now, what a pro forma is a report that is going to show how the property is performing. And you're going to see some interesting numbers here, numbers that you have seen before. Remember when we talked about the gross potential rent? Know that number? The vacancy factor, we talked about that. The gross effective income, we talked about that. There's your net operating income right there, okay? And then you have your cash flow after debt service, which wasn't very good, only $11. Ouch.
Now,
Ow, okay? But look at your principal reduction, okay? Because what happens each year after you pay the mortgage, the principal goes down. That's money in your pocket, right? And then you have your total return, okay? This is your analyzed income, and as we go up, we see that we have our expenses. That comes up to about $22,000 a year. Now, this is the beautiful part about this software, or any investment software, because it's going to tell you the indicators what you're looking for. It's going to shoot you out the cap rate. This cap rate was 4.83%, and the GRM was 12.54. So whenever you have an investment analysis software, number one, you're going to need one if you're going to be in this space, because you got to be able to, number one, market the property to show the investor what he or she is getting. Then you're going to want this type of software, okay? Now, we also did a market cap, because is it true sometimes that there is room for increase in the rents, which in this case it was. Look how low these rents were, okay? The total rent over here was only $9,600, but really on the market you could have gotten $19,200. So when we start talking about a value play, was this property a value play?
yes.
It absolutely was. Why was it a value play? Because look at the rents, what they are, and look what they could be. So
Michael, I have a question. Oh,
Yes.
go ahead.
well,
Sure.
just,
Denise.
is that program using the potential rents versus, because people are still there, you gotta get rid of them
Right.
to get stuff.
Right.
So how do you know which thing is that
Both.
using for this?
This is actual,
Yeah.
the
So it's
actual
figuring it
rents.
out both ways?
right. This is actual rent, and this is your market rent. So it figures it out both ways.
And which one is the bank going to use?
I'm sorry?
Which one's the bank going
The
to
actual.
use? The actual?
The bank is going to use the
I don't
actual.
like the projected.
No, this is an excellent point. Let me tell you why it's an excellent point. Is it, anybody in here know about rent control?
Yes.
What is rent control?
And what?
Thank you. Thank you.
Couldn't say better.
Where are some rent control areas?
LA,
LA,
LA, yeah.
Santa Monica,
San Pedro,
San Pedro.
Carson.
Wilmington,
There you go. Where are some non-rent control areas?
Long Beach,
Long Beach.
so far.
So far, that's about all. So this is why this is important, because if you in LA, it's gonna take a while to get over here unless you're gonna kick everybody out, like Denise said. Okay, but if you're in Long Beach, you can get over here pretty quickly.
Michael, I have a question.
Yes.
The cap rate is taking into account the principal reduction, or it does not in this particular?
No, this particular, cap rates never take in consideration of principal reduction. What takes in consideration of principal reduction is internal rates of return. Whenever you have internal rates of return, that takes into consideration principal reduction and depreciation.
Appreciation.
Depreciation, that's a whole different class we're gonna get into. Because this cap rate number is 4.83 on the surface, but once you take into consideration depreciation, internal rates of return, this number could be well close to 8%.
But how is that possible that with only $11 cash flow, you get a 4.83% cap rate?
That's a great question. And the answer to that is that the cash flow doesn't have a lot to do with the cap rate. You know, because remember what your cap rate is. Your cap rate is an indicator, is a rate of return, okay, on the property. So therefore, just because you're getting $11 after debt service and everything, that doesn't mean that basically that this is not the correct cap rate, right? Okay, so how do you determine cap rate again?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's a different.
How do you determine cap rate? You
Net
know,
operating income, price, and cap.
no, net operating income divided by what?
Sales
Price.
Sales price. That's right. It has nothing to do with your return. Okay? So therefore, if you wanted a bigger cap rate, what would you have to do?
Lower the price.
Lower the price or
More down payment.
more down payment. Absolutely. You guys are sharp. So therefore, look at the market cap rate. 6% versus the 4.83. Why is that?
Potential rent increase.
Potential rental increase. Okay?
So this deal is not your cash flow guy, this is your long-term,
This is not your cash flow guy.
right.
It's okay. It's all right.
It's got a lot of long-term.
Listing price, when I first got it, this was the actual deal I did. Listing price was $780, sold for $730. Okay? So therefore, this is the main page on what it looks like, but you have other things here. You got investment details and things like this as well. Okay? Now, what I want to do is to go to live. I want to go to a real property here in the MLS. We're going to have some fun. This is gonna be
Michael,
so
that,
much
you
fun.
pay for that page?
I paid.
You pay for that page?
No, this is a company offered benefit.
Oh,
So whenever you guys have any income properties that you need to be analyzed, bring them to us. We'll put them on, and we'll help you,
perfect.
because you're gonna need to explain that to the owner. And the investor gonna want to know, do you know what you're doing? You know, so absolutely come to us. Okay, this is the MLS. Does this look familiar to anyone? It should. It's better. For those of us that are trying to make sense.
Zillow looks more familiar now.
All right, so we're gonna do some fast and dirty calculations here, okay? I'm gonna teach you guys a quick and dirty trick, okay? This is over here is the GSI. What is the GSI again?
Scheduled income.
Good job. And this is the list price. Let me tell you a quick and dirty way to find out if a property is gonna cash flow without you even thinking about it. If this number is 10% of this number, it's a no-brainer. If this number is 10% of that number, it's a no-brainer.
is that what?
It's a good property.
Oh, okay.
It's a good property.
That's a good one.
All right, if this number is 10% of that number is a great property. So therefore, if this property cost was $710,000, with the $71,000 income, you don't have to think about it. It's gonna cash flow, period. Okay? Now, as you can see, you're not gonna find any of that. Okay? But I just wanna let you guys know, if this number is 10% of that number, buy it. Don't even think about it. Just buy it, because it's gonna cash flow.
Just write a check.
Just write a check, and, you know, ask the niece for the money. Either one of them. Either one of them.
Okay.
All right. So let's find something that's close to that. Okay? So I was kind of going to this number, and I kind of picked out this, 89,000, 1.1 million. It's not real close, but it's okay. It's okay. All right? So let's take a look at, anybody else? Can anybody else find the numbers that's close to 10% of these numbers here? You got 94, 1.2, 102, 1.3. This is really bad, 69 and 1.4. That's really bad. This is really bad, 136, 2.2. I don't know what he's doing, 9,000 and 2.6. Too crazy. Okay, so we'll use my example, 89 and 1.4. How about that? Let's go. Let's see if we can analyze it really quickly, and let's see what we have.
Yeah. Yeah.
14.
14th Street.
Okay, let's look at 14th Street. Let's see what we have. Okay, it's back on the market. What happened? Okay. All right, there's a reason. Let's look at it. Uh-oh, he's saying it's 10% upside for new owner. Is that a value play?
Yeah.
Yes, no, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Let's see,
All right.
let's check it out.
Let's check it out. First of all, it's 6 units and all of them are 1 bedrooms, right? 6 units, they're all 1 bedrooms, 2,700 square feet. How much square footage per unit is that? Anybody got a calculator?
Like 400 something.
Very cool.
My house living.
Yeah. What is it?
450.
450 square feet. So here we go. This is a quick way to analyze properties.
For a one
You got
bedroom.
a 1 bedroom that is 450 square feet. Pretty much they're all ones, so you can pretty much divide it. And he's saying that he can get $1,195. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Possibly.
Fix it up.
Is that in Long Beach?
That's in Long Beach.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the actual address is 242 14th Street.
That, you can get it.
Can you get that?
Garage.
Yes.
Sure.
Can I get more?
Yes.
Or am I at the top of the market?
You know,
No, you can get more.
can get more. 50-50.
50-50, maybe, maybe not. Okay, so therefore, if I can get more, then maybe there's 10%. I don't know, 450 square feet, I'm at $1,200 per unit. I'm not sure. Okay, but he's saying that you can get more. Okay, let's look at the numbers real quick. We have 89,000 in gross, $51,000 net income. Is that correct?
Let me see.
Sounds about
Okay, because out of this 89,000, what am I supposed to do?
divided over.
I'm supposed to take how much off the top?
30%?
5%.
5%.
vacancy.
I gotta take 5% off the top, right?
yes.
Okay, so what's 5% of that?
89 what?
89,040
45.
times 5%.
Alright.
43,000.
4,452.
Okay, so subtract it from 89.
$84,588. 588.
Okay, very good. Now subtract 32,000 from that number that you got there, Valentine. Let's see if his NOI is correct.
We have 52,588.
No.
Oh, so he was okay.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, he was low. Okay. Make sense? Okay, So now let me see if this cap rate is right.
We found like
How do
1%.
I find the cap rate? I mean, how do I find the price now? No, I'm sorry, how do I find the cap rate?
You know, I divided by sales.
That's right. NOI, which is how much?
52,588.
Divided by
The price?
the price, which is 1,000,000.
199.
That's too much.
What we come up with?
6 units.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, that- What's the other way?
There's the other one.
Other way.
Gonzalo?
Yeah, so it's
52 divided by
2
1
million.
million.
dividing the 52 into price.
Right.
The 52 is on top, the bigger,
What
the
was
smaller
the
number is
NOI?
on top.
52,515
52,515
divided by the sales price,
divided by the sales price. The big number goes into the little number,
4.37.
4.37.
Yeah, okay.
Was he correct? The answer is, where was his cap rate?
Oh, it's
4.3. He was right. He's on it. Okay, very good. Very good. There you are. Good job. Okay.
well, you know that.
So therefore, okay, I can buy that. I can buy the 4.3. I can buy the GRM. I'm not sure if I can buy the 10% upside. Because they're small units. I mean, how much can I squeeze out of a 450 square foot unit? Right? Okay. So, if I wanted a higher cap rate, what do I have to do on this one? Oh, yeah, well, I don't want to hit you with that. But the question is how much down payment was he calculating this property on? In other words, was it 25% down, 30% down, what was it? Okay, so we're gonna do a quick little exercise, because we're gonna figure out what the cash on cash is real quick. Let's do 30%. What's 30% of 1.1? Is the sales price. What's 30% of the sales price? Guess the sales price was 30% of that. Anybody got a mortgage calculator handy? Okay, we'll guess it out. 30% of 1,199,500.
It's 358, the 30%, which is the down payment, right?
358,000.
About 650.
How much?
359.7.
359,700.
Or, sorry, I didn't put the 500.
Okay. Hold on, we're coming up with the number.
359,850.
359,850.
It's coming
Yeah.
up with it.
Subtracted from that. And let's-
360.
Going
How
once,
much?
going twice.
All right, so remember that number. So somebody remember the down payment number.
58, 650 is right.
358, 358 what?
Round it off, 359.
359, let's do that.
It's going
Let's
down.
let's subtract
359
359 from this number. 359 from this number. I need the loan amount. That's what I'm getting after. What's the loan amount?
Loan amount, 836,000.
836,000.
500.
Okay. This is gonna be fun. 836,000. Anybody got a mortgage calculator? Carl's, who has Carl's mortgage calculator?
I have it. so-
Okay. 800, how much? Valentin?
36,500.
No, the loan amount is how much?
836,500.
Okay, 836,000 at 5%.
830.
Cap, annual, I
Okay,
mean,
what's the price?
no, the loan amount is 836,000. We're gonna do 30 years amortization
5%.
for 5%.
Go on Google.
Bankrate has one, bankrate.com has one.
No one has it on their
Which interest rate are we gonna use?
5%. Okay, got it. Mhm.
30 years.
Mhm.
Monthly property tax and all that? or-
No, just debt service. Debt service doesn't include property tax. Because remember, the property tax is in the NOI.
Okay. Okay, I got it.
Okay, what is it?
Can I help you?
No, we got one.
It's, 4,434.
4,434. Times 12? Isn't this fun?
No?
That's, 53,
53. Now we're getting somewhere.
208.
I'm so excited. This just brings tears to my eyes. I'm so excited about
I'm so glad I came to the class.
it. All right. So, okay, guys, here we go. Here we go. We're getting close. We're getting close. What is the debt service?
53,208.
53,208. The net operating income is what?
52,588.
What's the difference?
Not a lot.
Negative
Negative.
$1,200.
Ooh, no cash flow here, guys.
This is definitely a cash flow.
Yeah, did you see how it all came together?
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm cool. I got a 4.3% cap rate, but I'm in the negative. I gotta put money toward this property each month for it to make sense. Now, after I get my taxes back, and principal reduction and yada, yada, yada,
I appreciate you.
I'm okay, but every month I'm coming out of my pocket on this property.
After putting $359,000.
After putting 350, yeah, there it is. There it is. So now, can I speak intelligently to my investor? Does my investor know that I know what I'm talking about now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Because you know what, Mr. Now, if you want to buy it at this price, sir, then you're gonna come out your pocket. Okay? The interest rate is about where it is. And that's what it
I
is.
think we use a little bit lower interest rate, 5% for a commercial.
I don't think you're gonna be too much lower. That's about where you are. So basically, the only thing I can do is drop the price on this one. Because I can't really go up on the rents too much. I'm kind of stuck. I only got
Would
450.
the bank lend you for this property?
Good question.
All right, now we
Good
get
question.
somewhere.
Oh, he's on it. Woo, it's hot today. Okay, all right, so we got all the information now, let's figure it out. Will the bank loan me money on this property? Okay, so there's one other factor I'm looking for, and it's called what?
DCR.
The DCR. Let's figure out what the DCR, we got all the information, let's do it. Okay, so what do we need? What did I say we needed for the DCR? We need to put the mortgage, the debt service into the NOI, right? Okay,
So the bank is not gonna lend it.
but let's figure out what the number is. Let's figure out what the number is. Okay, so what's the number? What's the DCR?
It's a mortgage divided by NOI.
That's right, so what was the NOI?
It's 52,588,
Very good, and what was the mortgage?
53,
Okay, so if you divide that,
208.
Dividing.
So that's negative.
that's right, how much of a negative is it though, is the question.
I got 1.013.
I got .98.
That's it. It's point, because you're dividing a bigger number into a smaller number, it has to be under 1. So you got .98, right? It's not even 1. And the bank wants what?
1.15.
There it is.
Well, can we find out how much money you need to put down in that property in order for the bank to lend you money?
Absolutely, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
Okay.
So let's figure out how much money that I gotta put down in order for the bank to lend me money. So I was at 30%, right?
That was 30%?
Yep.
So let's
So obviously 30% is not gonna work, so let's try 40.
Okay,
think, Valentin,
Valentine?
Poor Val. He's got the calculator.
Let's try
Now
40.
we need a down payment of 478.
Whoa. That's a lot of money. That's only $500,000 for 6 units in Long Beach.
Only for down payment.
All right, go ahead.
478.
478, subtract the 478 from the selling price. What do you get?
Waiting on you, Valentin.
All the pressure's on you, sir.
Now we have a 3,800 a month. That's times 12.
Okay.
38. So now, our debt service is 45,600.
Mhm.
And now we're gonna divide. Our
So 52,
588 divided by 45. Now we have 1.15.
We're getting closer.
Oh,
Closer. So I would suggest about 45%, and you're at 1.25. But this is how commercial really works. If you want the bank to loan you some money, you're gonna have to come up with the money or either get the owner to drop the price. Either or, okay? Now, see, that may not be too bad. Now, let me tell you how we make sense of this whole thing. That may not be too bad if I'm coming out of a 1031 deferred taxes change and I got $500,000. Then I can tolerate that.
Yeah.
But to save $483,000, it's gonna take a minute, right? Or either buy a cannabis plant. I'm on the cannabis station. But this is a great class because it showed you a lot. It showed you what your cash flow is. It showed you your scheduled rental income, how to come to your NOI, what cap rates are about. Then we went to a real live property and we really saw what it's about. We analyzed what the square footage is and how to break it down. To me, I wouldn't buy this building. I ain't gonna buy a 1 bedroom, 450 square feet and try to get $1,200 a month. It's just not my cup of tea. But it's somebody's cup of tea. Especially if you have a client that has a 1031 deferred taxes change and his days are running out, this might be his cup of tea. So it's all about knowing your client. It's all about knowing your investor. I'm gonna show you one other thing. It's gonna take about a minute, but this is for another class. This is the website that Realty Executive offers all of our people. And you can see that I can find this property on my website very quickly. And when I find it, what I can do, I can actually market this property to all my clients. It's really easy. What's even more powerful, and this will just be another class that we're gonna take, but this is the marketing piece. Now that we know how to, the investment analysis software and all that good stuff, now we're going to actually get it out to our clients. We're going to show them what this property means to them. We're going to spark their interest. And so what I can do with this, and this is just so very cool, I can take this actual URL and I can go to my blogging in my website. And you notice how fast I'm going here. I can actually blog this property out. I can actually create a new blog, talk a little bit about Long Beach. Long Beach is a great place to buy and invest. Then I can actually talk a little bit about Long Beach. I can talk about the Queen Mary a little bit. Yada, 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 after I learn how to spell. Then we can talk about Queen Mary. Okay, then I can talk about Queen Mary,
Shoreline Village,
Mary Lodge.
Pine Square.
Line.
Got the E after that.
Thank you. What would I do without you?
North Long Beach.
Village. Okay, you get the
Like-
point, you get the point. I talk about all this other stuff, and then what I do is I throw this link in there, right? Which is gonna be just really, really cool. And that will allow me to, let me this up here. Anyway, what that's gonna do is that's going to allow me to, actually blog this property, get it out there, get it out to my people. I'm messing this up. My bad. My bad.
Just be ready.
Okay.
Determined.
Hopefully this works. Let me do it again here, because I don't, that link is probably all messed up. So I'll go down here while I'm on this again, see if I can put it. Is it in here?
Right click,
Did I-
control V.
did I-
Yes.
There it is. Okay.
Hit enter.
Hit enter. There it is. What I do without you. Okay, and this actually becomes my blog. I can throw a picture in there, I can talk about all kind of great stuff. I can preview it, and, post always exists with this title. I'm just gonna put one in there, so it'll be different. And let's see if I can preview it here. I can. Here's the preview page, it comes up. And when people click on that, it automatically goes to our page.
Nice.
That's a whole different class. But you see how fast I did this with our software? Then what you do, you post this blog in your Facebook, send it out to your people, people start talking to you. Okay? So hey, I want to thank you guys for being a part of this presentation. I hope you learned something today.
Thank you, Michael.
Do we have any more announcements or anything like that?
This Saturday, we have the Wealth Academy.
Well, why don't you talk a little bit about that?
That's very nice.
Well, this Saturday, we have a Wealth Academy for the consumers from 10 a.m. to 11:30. So if you guys have any clients that are there on the fence, that they don't know if your real estate is a good investment, or they're not sure because they see these tight cap rates, bring them over. And, they'll change their mind after they see the presentation. Has anybody of you seen the Wealth Academy?
Yeah, like 3 times.
You like it?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
we have it for the consumers this Saturday, so.
So what time, where?
It's here at 10, from 10 a.m. to 11:30 this Saturday. All right? All right, thank you
Well,
guys.
I do have one other thing. I want to present something to Mr. Jose Nunez. Mr. Jose Nunez has been a Buffini member